Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today we are going to talk about the best cards of a less time in every single color combination. This is my traditional video that I make at the beginning of every set. I have about now almost 2-3 weeks of playtest with a Lawless time, which gives me a basic yet incomplete idea on how those cards are going to do. So this is again coming out about a week before release, and I'm hoping to get as many of them right as possible. This is not only my opinion, of course other members of Team Enigma were consulted into crafting this ranking. Hopefully we got it as accurately as possible, but obviously very difficult, even more so than before, than usual, to predict what the best cards in each color combination is going to be, simply because we have simply because there's a rotation and a completely change in metagame. Also, because of the nature of the set, there's a lot more categories of different color combinations I've decided there's going to be in this. So I'm expecting this video to include far more cards than usual, because there's just more color combinations. So this video is sponsored by Card Market, the best marketplace to find and sell cards in Europe. We're going to start with the neutral color combination of blue and yellow. And the very interesting thing about this color combination is that almost every single card of this color combination is not only playable, but also very high on the list of some of the best cards in the set. So it was very difficult to do the ranking, and this is why my confidence on this one is low. There's just so many good cards, so it was very difficult to do. In honorable mention, I had to put not 1, not 2, not 3, but for the very first time on Thorrk Card Text, put 4 cards in honorable mention, just simply because there's just too many good cards, and any of those 4 cards could have easily made it to the podium. First I want to talk about Finn, of course, great ambush unit, good stats, very powerful on attack ability, immediate impact on the game, great card. I don't think it's auto-include in every blue-yellow deck, but it's not far from it. It's really strong. Then there's Two-Faced Thorrk, which is another very strong card. It's very strong in Beckett, but not only, to be fair. There are a lot of different decks that can use this unit as just a very solid sentinel, and also as a card that obviously combines really well with the other card on this list, which is very simply the Rio Durant. Two-Faced Thorrk almost always played together. They were on my top 10 list of some of the cards that might be some of the most expensive cards of the set, because they are rare. They can be played together. You can basically curve in the Two-Faced Thorrk, give 2 credit tokens to your opponent, and then play Rio Durant, and then flip Two-Faced Thorrk on your side, even before he gets a chance to attack sometimes, and you get 2/4 shielded, got 2 credit tokens in the process, and also got a 2/5 units as well. It's really powerful, and Rio Durant and Two-Faced Thorks are very powerful when played together, but they also have quite a bit of utility even when they are played separately, which makes them some really strong cards. And then finally, I also wanted to mention Val. Val also happens to be quite a solid card, because it turns out that, of course, 2/4/2 is very good stat line, and the when play effect is very powerful. Something I've really strongly underestimated with her is that when she's defeated and she gives a shield to an enemy unit, you get to choose where the shield goes. And if you put a shield on a unit where literally that unit doesn't matter, that's not really a big deal. Also, you're playing this in yellow-blue. Yellow-blue has access to hard removal, and yellow has access to bounce, like Beguile. So giving a shield to your opponent unit is often not that big of a deal. Whereas putting shield on your sentinels can be extremely impactful. Obviously, it combines really well with Two-Faced Thorrk as a 2/4 sentinels. Obviously works really well with Beckett, but I feel like Val is just a really solid card that's going to be played in a variety of different decks, and the when defeated effect also allows him to get discounted, which allows you to play Val in a Chronic deck. We can turn 1 Chronic, and then you can play Val with for 1. So just a lot of very positive thing going on with this card, and once again, giving shield to sentinels is just really powerful, especially in the current meta. That is quite aggressive. So now let's get into my bronze medal. I've decided to put Kain and Jarrus. Kain and Jarrus just been overall a very solid card that has seen a wide amount of play, and has been one of the primary reason that people have been run a 27 HP base. Kain and Jarrus is not an amazing card when it's played without a green or red unit in play, with a basic bonus, but still decent. Bounce a 2 drops and get yourself a 3/4 restore 1. But the main reason why this card is on the top 3 of this list is simply because the card becomes insanely powerful once you play it where there's a green or red unit in play. And therefore it has been one of the major reasons to be play one of those 27 HP base to play one of these cards out of aspect. Moving on to a silver matter, we got the Stranger, one of the best legendary in the set. His color combination limits how much he's going to see play, but nevertheless, it ambush, it kills, and it puts a very large threat on the board. It's a force unit, so it gives you the force right away when it attacks. It's a big threat. It's an auto include in Tarzan, and it's also going to see play in other blue, yellow, black decks, such as, for example, I think Thorrk. So Thorn Yellow, I think it's just a really, really good card. And in gold medal, I decided to put Rhodonium Detonation. Rhodonium Detonation is as good as I was hoping it would be. It's a really, really close in power level to a Super Laser Blast, but it comes into play one turn earlier, which is huge. The fact that it doesn't defeat leaders is a big deal, not gonna lie, but even then, it's still extremely powerful. Obviously, sometimes the fact that it doesn't defeat leader is actually an upside, because it means it doesn't kill your own leaders. But if you have a tactic and if you manage to kill your opponent leaders, then Rhodonium Detonation basically becomes Super Laser Blast for 7, which is incredible. The fact that one of the opponent's unit will return to your opponent's hand is not a big deal. It's just an incredibly powerful card. I think that if Control becomes a thing in set 7, it will be on the back of this card. I think that whatever successful Control is going to exist in this meta, it will be playing yellow-blue. And also, this card might be responsible for making Heroism Control a thing. I think that this card is notably incredible in Lando, which can basically play it even earlier. So it's just a card that it might not see as much play as the previous card we talked about here, but it's gonna have a much bigger meta impact, because I think this card is single-handedly responsible of Control being playable in that color combination, and maybe in Heroism as well, which is a pretty big deal and pretty unheard of, because yellow-blue decks have not really been very strong in Star Wars Unlimited, but this set is the biggest jump in power level yellow-blue is ever gonna have, that has ever had in Star Wars Unlimited, and this color combination is becoming so much better with this set. There's just so many strong cards. It was very hard for me to make this top 3. Moving on to yellow-red. So just to mention, when I'm doing the neutral color combination, I'm also including Heroism and Villainy. I'm including the neutral, the Heroism, and the Villainy cards. Otherwise, it would just be too few cards to rank. Confidence on this one is medium. On bronze, I decided to put Shadow of the Stygian Prime. So this card is a bit of a... It's a bit risky. It's a hard card to rate, because the card is undeniably very powerful. Being able to basically deal with any units and then trickle damage to base is something that not only is very powerful, it's also the kind of effect that we do not have access to in the game. So it's a card that, in my opinion, is really, really powerful. There's 2 question marks about this card. First of all, the first issue I have with it. So obviously, it doesn't exhaust the unit. You have to play on the unit that's already exhausted. So there's some limitation, but even then, I think it's a very powerful card. There's 2 strong limitation of this card, I think. The first one is, obviously, it's locked behind triple aspect, red, yellow, black. So the big question with this card is red, yellow, black gonna see play in the meta? And the question is it's not obvious if it's gonna see play or not. We see, for example, Sebulba is the obvious candidate for this color combination, but Sebulba has been kind of a miss lately. It's really, we've seen also Boba yellow, Boba 4 yellow, but I think that people who play this card in Boba yellow are wrong, because it's a horrible card in Boba yellow. As soon as you play this, your opponent is simply just going to put all the indirect damage on the unit that has this, and you will spend 4 resources for nothing. So that's the first big question mark for this card is, will the meta have enough of those color combinations deck for Shadow of Stygian Primes actually seeing play? The second question is, we are right now in a meta where red is very played. That means there's a lot of upgrade removal going on, and obviously having your forecast upgrade being removed doesn't feel good at all. Especially for an upgrade that doesn't have an immediate impact on the game. It's more like something that gets value over time. So those are going to be very, very large limiting factor for this one, but I think the card has a lot of potential, and that's why I put it in bronze medal. And to be fair, there's not many other cards. There's the new TIE Defender, which is very strong in Sebulba, but again, Sebulba has been kind of a disappointment, and this might impact how the card is going to see play. In silver medal, we decided to play Chrysanthemum. I was a bit skeptical to add this card because I think it's quite overpriced. It's quite expensive, but forced to admit that in Beckett that is able to produce a bunch of credit tokens, the card is incredible. It's the perfect way to redeem your credit tokens and put more pressure. It does something that no other card in the meta does, which is just ambush, come into there, kill a unit, and deal a bunch of overwhelm damage. Overwhelm and ambush are two traits that go really, really well together. So it does something that no other cards in the format does, and it's also a card that happens to work really, really well with Beckett, which I believe is going to be one of the strongest leaders in the set. Moving on, we got our gold medal is Interrogation Droid, which is to me the no-brainer gold medal in this set. It's a card that is being played out of aspect because you can actually pull it from invisible hand without having to pay the aspect penalty. It's a very well positioned card in the meta because it's really good against aggro as it exhausts a unit and also put a 3-1 on the board, so it's really good for racing situation. And icing on the cake, it discards an opponent card from your opponent's hand, which is great because it makes aggressive negotiation less powerful. So it just does everything that is good in the meta. So it's a card that not only is really powerful in terms of raw power, has some strong synergies with Invisible Hand notably, it's also a card that is very well positioned in the current meta. So in my opinion, Interrogation Droid is the main reason to be playing red, yellow, black in right now. Moving on to our yellow, green cards. We're going to start off, once again, on this one, my confidence is high. I think there's not... I would be very surprised if I'm wrong on this particular ranking. And we're going to start off with the Millennium Falcon. Millennium Falcon has been... the ability is not easy to use. To be quite honest, very rarely do I actually manage to hit something with the base. If you're playing a more hybrid deck that is more kind of grand and based, then the ability is a lot easier to use. But even if you're playing an all-space decks, I still believe that Falcon is quite good, simply because of the stat line. So 2-5 stat line, most of the spaceship that comes to play on turn 2 have 4 health, with the exception of AT Auler. So that means that there's a lot of cards that people can play, like the Escort Fighter. They can 4-1, they can ambush and kill your units, that will kill in your units and doesn't kill the Falcon, which I think is a great asset. So I think it's a good card if you're playing a space deck that plays this color combination. You're likely to play this, and if you play that color combination, you might be able to, and you're playing more hybrid ground space strategy, Falcon might also be good in there, because then you can really utilize the ability. So I believe the card is quite good, and for me it's my bronze medal. Moving on to silver, we got Jyn Erso, a card that, in my opinion, if you're playing that color combination, is an absolute no-brainer. It's a very specific color combination again, so that's a limiting factor for the card. But if you're playing that color combination, you probably should be playing this card, unless maybe you're playing a full... I think the only excuse maybe if you're playing a false deck and you really want to focus your early game on false units, but if you're not playing false and you're playing that color combination, then Jyn Erso is a no-brainer. She comes to play as a 3/3 for 2, and obviously she has loads of flexibility, can be an experience token to another unit, and she also exhausts, which makes her scale really, really well into late game. She's good in early and she's good in late game as well. Just a great card, and just icing on the cake, she's a rebel. Gold medal to me goes to the Max Rebo Band. This card is the closest thing we have to ramping in this set. Very difficult to kill with this 5 health, and every turn is going to create credit tokens without for you requiring an action, which is, I think, very important. Some people have compared the Max Rebo Bands to Lady Proxima, but forced to admit that the Max Rebo Band just does what Lady Proxima does way better, because it doesn't require an action to create tokens, which means that you can play like a big card as your first action on the turn after, which is really, really great. And that means you start producing credit token right from the first turn you hit the battlefield, which is really, really nice. Yeah, the only limiting factor of this card is the color combination. but undeniably in that color combination, it is the best card. Moving on to red-green, my confidence on this one is low. There's not a lot of great card in that color combination. There's a lot of playable cards, but nothing really truly great that really stands out. So it was very difficult to actually do this ranking. So I have a couple of honorable mentions. We have the Honor-Bound Partisan and the High Singers. I think both of these cards, you can make a case to put this in the top 3. High Singers has been is really good on paper, but has been this one is kind of a Beton suggestion, to be fair. Beton had a really poor experience playing this card, mostly because of the stat line. 4-2 stat line just simply doesn't do really well in the set, and the experience that he gives hasn't basically made up for that. I haven't had loads of experience with this card, so I trust his judgment on this one. So let's get into the number 3. Number 3 decided to put Betting 2-Tube. I think this card it's not great if you play second, but if you're playing first, it will at the very least trade with a 2-4 and then deal 1 damage to base, so it will basically trade up. And if your opponent does not open 2-4, then the card becomes a lot more powerful, because then it puts a lot of pressure on the base, pings, which is really strong because there's a lot of shield in the current meta, so being able to ping the shield is really great. And again, the guarantee that you're going to be able to deal at least 1 damage when it dies is just really solid. So I think it's a decent card. Will it see a lot of play? It's hard to tell. Once again, green-red is kind of a lower power level in my opinion compared to the other color combination we talked about earlier. So hard to say if this will see a lot of play, but for me this is what I chose for my bronze medal. In silver, I've decided to pull Maul. Maul is also another tricky one because he's absolutely incredibly insane in the 7 cost leader that allows you to give ambush to people. Well, so if you can give him ambush, he's absolutely incredible. Even game breaking, I would say. He can just single-handedly win games. The problem is that the archetypes that want to play him aren't very good right now. So loads and loads of potential. Unfortunately, not quite enough support for this card to really work in the current environment. So for now, I'm putting in silver medal just for the potential. In gold, I decided to put Chopper. Chopper has turned out to be a really powerful deck, for powerful card. If you're playing an aggro deck and you're playing this as your out of aspect, and you're playing some out of aspect card, so you're playing like a very powerful aspect, out of aspect, like let's say you're playing out of aspect Han Solo, you're playing the 27 HP base, you can play Han Solo turn 1, and then you can play alongside another 2-drop, and then you can play Chopper turn 2. I personally will not splash Chopper into a deck. However, if you are splashing yellow and blue cards into your deck that comes to play on turn 1, then Chopper can become really good, and obviously becomes a very high pressure card. 3/4 raid 1, just really solid. Again, I think it's going to be very niche. I don't think this card is going to be just all of the meta. I think it's going to be very niche. But again, green-red is kind of a weak color combination, so a little bit difficult to. It was really difficult to do that ranking because I think all those cards are going to be quite niche. I think Chopper has more chance to see play than Maul. That's why I'm just putting it gold medal. Next, we go into another color combination. This one got a lot of support. That is the Aggression Vigilance, probably the second best neutral color combination in the set. And my confidence in this one is medium. So a couple of honorable mentions. First, I have to put single reactor ignition. If you would have told me before a couple of weeks ago that I would have put single reactor ignition not even in the top 3 best cards of red blue, I would have called you crazy. Because this card is undeniably extremely powerful and its potential for the future is insane. It's literally Super Isoblast with extra upside. But this card has 2 major weaknesses. The first weakness is obviously the color combination that you have to play. You are locked to be playing blue, red, black if you want to play that card. And granted, you can play it with a splash, but running the 27 HP base whenever you're running a control deck is a very big deal. I think that the vast majority of decks that would be running 27 HP base will be aggressive decks. So running a 27 HP base whenever you're playing a control deck is a huge deal. So that's the problem. The second problem is that this card is really typically a control card and in villainy, and the problem is Control Villainy doesn't have any top end right now. It's very, very difficult to build a Control Villainy deck right now because top ends just suck. And without top end, it's not really possible to play Control. So, and also, of course, we are in an environment that is extremely hostile to Control. There is 3 limiting factors for this card, and I'm afraid that even as the meta develops and the meta gets a bit more control, I think the kind of control deck that will exist, my big prediction here for this set is that I think that the control decks that will exist in this set will not play Villainy, which is the first time we see this in Star Wars Limited. Or maybe they will play Villainy, but they will play a different color combination that blue, red, black. I think the control decks are most likely going to be blue, yellow. Is it going to be blue, yellow Villainy or blue, yellow heroism? But I think blue, yellow is going to be the color of control this set, not blue, red. Because of the fact that we just simply don't have any good top ends. And that just sucks. So, it is what it is. I'm pretty sad about this, but it is what it is. Single reactor ignition. I think this card is undeniably going to be seeing a lot of play in the future of Premiere. And it will also see play some Eternal. But in the current meta, in the current format that we're having right now, just with what we have right now, which is what I'm basing my ranking on, I just don't see it seeing that much play. At least I don't see it seeing more play than the other card on this list. Then I also wanted to mention IG-88, which I believe is a quite solid card. His ability to basically one-shot enemy leaders without dying is just very powerful. So if you're playing a non-force blue, black, red deck, you're most likely going to be playing this card. In bronze medal, I decided to pick Ona. Of course, the fact that Ona is not villainy, non-heroism makes it easier to put in the deck than the 2 previous cards we talked about. It's also a card that is just really well stats, 3-5 Raid 2 and the Restore 2. Right now we are in a very aggressive meta, very racy, and Ona is a great racing card because that basically deals a 7 damage differential when it swings, which is really incredible. So it is slow as a 4-drop with no immediate impact on the game. Its impact on the game is so massive whenever it gets to attack that I think it is going to be seeing a lot of play. And blue-red is a very popular color combination in this set, so I think this card is going to see a lot more play. So that's why it's bronze medal. In silver medal, I'm going to call Shiofane. So Shiofane is currently the hottest 2-drops in the set right now. That's seeing a lot more play because it's just amazing with aggressive negotiation. And this is, by the same time, its greatest strength and its greatest weakness, which is the reason why this card is not in gold medal but in silver medal. So 2-4-2 with great stat line and the ability to draw cards for free is just incredible in an aggressive negotiation deck. But the problem is now we are in a meta that is so based on aggressive negotiation that you are also helping your opponent and making him draw cards. So one is usually supposed to be a great ability ends up also being a downside. And if you're not using the ability, then it's just basically a 2-4-2, which is far weaker than other things you can do on turn 1. So he's great, and there's obviously a lot of decks that are going to be playing it. I just don't feel like it's better than the number 1 card we're going to talk about, which is Zeb Aurelius. I think Zeb Aurelius has proven to be an incredible card, especially in this meta. 4-4-5 Sentinel. First of all, Sentinels are just really, really powerful right now because they allow you to protect yourself against aggressive negotiation. But the unit is really solid even if you do not have a green or yellow unit. So 3 damage to a ground unit is just a really strong ability. And then the fact that it turns into a 5 damage is just incredible if you play something out of aspect. So one of the most popular play that people are doing is using Kanan Jarrus, the yellow Kanan Jarrus we talked about earlier, out of aspect using the 27 HP base on turn 3, and then on turn 4 they play Zeb Aurelius for 5 damage. And this combination here allows you to pull yourself so far ahead. And it's a very, very powerful. So I'm expecting every single white, red, and blue deck to be playing Zeb Aurelius, and I believe that Zeb Aurelius is going to be one of the most splashable card in the set. A lot of decks are going to be playing 27 HP base just to play this card to be able to get himself into a 4/4/5/5 Sentinel that deals 5 damage when it comes to play. Just an incredibly high impact card. He's also a rebel. Moving on now to another really competitive color combination. It is green-blue. And on this one, my confidence is low because there were a lot of strong cards, and it was honestly very difficult to rank which one was going to be the best. So getting on to honorable mentions, we got a few. We got Nothing Left to Fear, which is kind of craving power, but the +2/+2 is temporary and it doesn't affect leaders, so it's a lot worse than craving power. But the fact it's available to heroism is a pretty big deal, and the fact that also it defeats units that have a power equal or less, so it's basically based on power rather than based on health, is actually pretty strong. So I think it's a pretty solid card. I don't necessarily think it's going to see play in every single green-white deck, but in a lot of them it will see play for sure. And then we got Leppy Lookout, which has been one of the best 2-drop in the set. The only issue, of course, of Leppy Lookout is that we are obviously in the meta where Talzin sees a lot of play, and Leppy Lookout really gets hard countered by Talzin really heavily. But undeniably a very powerful card. In bronze medal, I decided to put Lat's Razzie. This card I honestly expected to be much higher on the list, but after testing her a lot, she's really strong, but she's not as versatile as I was hoping. The fact that she can only hit ground units is a bit of a limitation. I still think she's incredible, very flexible, to one-shitter that is too. It's just a much better version of Death Trooper, and she's just a really incredible card. But believe it or not, there's actually a card I would put higher in the list. I think right now the big limitation for Lat's Razzie is not that she's a really strong card, but I haven't felt like she hasn't found a home. I felt like that card hasn't found a deck that really wants to play her. So right now, I could be wrong, and maybe she's gonna see a home where she's gonna see a ton of play and be insanely powerful. But right now, the decks that play her are not super high tier decks. And that obviously has to be taken into account. Like, you can be a really strong card if you don't end up being played in the best deck in the game. You're not gonna have a lot of meta impact. And I'm afraid this is what's gonna happen with Lat's Razzie. In silver medal, we got Ezra Bridger, a card that in a vacuum is not as powerful as Lat's Razzie, but just believe that it's just gonna see a lot more play. Mostly thinking because it's a force unit, so of course Force Rebel Spectre. The one playability is not very powerful, but it's a 5/5 for 4, just some extremely high stats. Some really solid stats, puts tons of pressure, and the healing effect is honestly not irrelevant. So just a really solid card. It's going to see a lot of play, notably in Obi-Wan, which I believe to be is going to be one of the strong mid-range deck of this meta. So obviously the fact that it's going to see play in one of the most powerful mid-range deck of the format by itself is going to be enough for this card to get into silver medal. And in gold medal, I've decided to pick Han Solo. Han Solo, I believe, is the best one-cost unit in the entire game, including set 1, 2, 3. Just an incredible. This card could have been a 2-drop and still would have seen play. It's just incredibly powerful. Right now, interestingly enough, it's not the powerhouse that it should be because there's simply not a lot of leaders that can combine their leader's ability with it to really get ahead. However, it's still undeniably a very powerful card that's going to see play notably in aggro decks to go for Doa 1-drop opening, and it's going to be played out of aspect using the 27 HP base. Just a really solid card, very solid, very hard to deal with, grows bigger every turn or into attack, just a pain in the ass to deal with. Next, we're going to Villainy. Cunning. My confidence in this one's high, so we're getting now into the traditional color combinations, and I'm gonna go a little bit faster on this. There's not that many cards in that color combination, so that does help making the list, to be fair. In bronze medal, we got Boba Fett. Not an amazing card, but it's playable, and unfortunately there's really nothing else that is better than this in Cunning Villainy, so this is why it's bronze medal. Old for Questioning, I think has been a really good card. It's really well positioned in the meta because it's strong as aggro deck because it exhausts units, and then the fact that it gets to discard a card is an incredible counter to aggressive negotiation. So for that reason alone, this card is going to see a pretty decent amount of play. Patroller is obviously the best cunning black card in the set. 2/2 shielded for 2 has always been an absolute great stat line, and every single 2/2 shielded units in the game has always seen tremendous amount of play. And the fact that this one is in space is a big upgrade, because obviously stat lines in space usually weaker, which means that this card is going to be able to get more favorable trades. And it's also a great body for pilot units. Moving on now to the cunning heroism, and on this one my confidence is quite high. Once again, I don't think there's many options. On bronze medal, I decided to put Rose Tycho, a very powerful card if you can trigger ability and allows it to play and ready, which is not that difficult. All you need is to control a non-unique unit. If you play a deck that has a lot of space units, this is a great asset. I think it's a great addition to Han 4, for example, who can give himself a very big flip. Very high chance of having a non-heroism unit, a non-unique unit in play, and then take advantage of the 5 resource that you ready from hand 4 to play this card ready, which is just really powerful in an aggro deck. Then we got Lieutenant Gorn, one of the best anti-credit tokens card in the set and in the game for that matter. Really good stat line, 4/4 for 3, which is just a good stat line in general, as there's a lot of 2/4 for 2s in the meta. Both Imperials and Rebels, and whenever the credit token bonus here is just basically a bonus at this point, and being able to take control of enemy credit token is just incredibly powerful. And in gold medal, obviously Liberty, in my opinion the best ledger in the set. The top end that's going to make Lando playable, in my opinion, and also a great game stabilizer, the kind of top end that we wish we had in Villainy, to be fair. Stabilize the space because it's a massive sentinel, stabilize the ground because it's able to exhaust an enemy unit, and also bounce enemy upgrades, repeatable effect that gives him inevitability because it's both a when played and a non-attack, and obviously 9 attack, which means that he can close out game very quickly. This card has everything, and it's a great asset, and the fact that you can play this card 1 turn, 2 turns on time, 3 turns earlier thanks to Lando and credit tokens is incredible, and obviously cunning is the color where credit tokens are being produced. Now let's go into mono cunning. My confidence on this one is low. In honorable mention, I've decided to put Lady Proxima. She's not as good as Max Ruboban, but she's pretty close to her. To it, as obviously, once again, if you play a deck that wants to be producing credit tokens, you have a good chance you're going to be playing her in order to get yourself into the higher stage of the game. Very difficult to kill and produce credit tokens in return. Very powerful. In bronze medal, I decided to put Blade Wing, probably a card that I was not rating highly at all in my first impression, but this card has basically amazed me over and over again. Obviously, if you compare this card to what we have in the first 3 sets of the game, it's not great. But in the current meta, where there's very few removal and very few bounce, the Blade Wing is very powerful, as obviously a Beguile is a strong card but can only bounce a unit that costs 6 or less. This one bounces cards of any size and also gives you a 3/3 body, which I think is quite important. I think if you can play a deck that can generate a lot of credit tokens and like a Beckett deck, then the high cost is not as big of an issue, and the versatility of the card makes it a very powerful option. I don't think it's going to see a tremendous amount of play. I think it's going to remain a very niche card, but for me, this is my bronze medal. In silver medal, a card I will see a lot more play, it is Big Scalin. She's really good because of how well she combines with Anakin Skywalker. She will produce a credit token on when played, allows you to basically curve Big Scalin into Anakin, and she will discard you a card, obviously allows you to discard, let's say, a villainy card in order to enable your Anakin. Is just really powerful. So both being able to ramp your Anakin and discard the outlet that will enable Anakin's ability is very powerful, and you also get a 4/5 body alongside it and an ability that is repeatable. a very, very powerful card that will see a lot of play, especially since it's a regular monocunning. That means it can be played in a wide variety of decks. And then in gold medal, I decided to put Qui-Gon Jinn, another card that does really well with Anakin. But not only, I think this card suffered the comparison. Obviously, it's arguably a worse Sentinels if you compare this to Shirut or to Typho. But even despite that, I find myself playing this card quite often. Obviously, in decks that don't play those colors, but not only. The fact that it is a force unit means you can grab it from Owen Lars. The ability allow you to enable Anakin. Again, look at top 3, filter a card, put this card in this card. You can put like a villainy or an heroism card in order to enable Anakin double -3. And it also repeatable ability, you can do this every time on attack. There's just a lot of cool things going on. And if you're playing, let's say a deck that doesn't play the Force, this is a very big upgrade over just a regular 3/5 Sentinel. And you can play this over Shirut. And if you're playing, once again, Owen Lars, you'll be play this, and you're not playing with the Force base, then you're going to be playing this over Shirut. So it's going to see a good amount of play. There's a big argument of whether you're going to put Big Scalene or Qui-Gon Jinn first. Personally, I've been playing Qui-Gon Jinn a bit more. I think that the meta is very, very aggressive, which means that Big Scalene sometimes is a little bit slow. So even though I believe Big Scalene in a vacuum is a better card than Qui-Gon Jinn, I believe that in the current meta, Sentinels are really, really important. And in such aggressive meta, you want to have a 4-drop that does manage to stabilize the game, where Big Scalene doesn't really do that. So that's why I decided to put Qui-Gon Jinn in gold. Moving on to Villainy Vigilance, my confidence in this one is quite low. I think the power level of this color combination is really, really low, unfortunately. Going into bronze medal, we got the IGV 55 Listener. Right now, it is basically a strictly worse version of the 6/6 heroism. There's actually the exact same card in heroism, but it's a 6/6 instead of being a 5/6. Despite that, I still believe that late game Sentinels are going to be better than they've ever been because of the lack of removals. And against the space aggro decks, having a big Sentinel in space is going to be something that will be quite important, and some decks will want to have. In silver, I decided to put Lawbringer. I've been tremendously disappointed by this card. The fact that it doesn't help against Queen Amidala, and it does really poorly into Charismatic, means that even in scenarios where it should be good, it's not that good. And obviously, because it's only a -2/-2, there's plenty of scenarios where it doesn't really do anything. So it's just extremely situational. It might see some play in some sideboards in a particular meta, but overall this card has been a massive disappointment. So I still think it's going to see a little bit of competitive play, but it's going to be very, very niche for sure. And in gold medal, I decided to put Imperial Door Technician because there's simply just nothing else to put instead. It's going to be a niche card, probably only going to see play in Thrawn and maybe in some control decks, which I don't think are particularly powerful right now. It's pretty decent in Thrawn, but there's not much to say about it. It's just a good card for Thrawn, but that's about it. Now we get into Vigilance, Heroism, and my confidence one is high. I think the power level of this color cohesion is far higher than the one of Villainy, and it's quite easy to figure out what are the top 3 in my opinion. Couple of honorable mention, we got the Defiant Scrapper, which I think is a card that may see some play if credit tokens end up being a big thing. There are other ways to counter credit tokens in that color combination, but I think Defiant Scrapper does it better than the other cards in that color combination. So in bronze, I decided to put Lando Calrissian. This is a pretty decent Sentinel. The 4/5, it does cost 5, but the ability of giving -1 attack to the attacker when defending is really powerful. As the card is basically at the very minimum, it's going to be a 4/6 for 5 Sentinel, and obviously sometimes it can be way better than this, especially against a wide board. It's also both Rebel and Underworld, which are 2 very, very important traits. So to me, it's a really, really strong card. Next, in silver, we got Syntakaz. She's a 3-5 for 3, which we've seen a lot, and there's still, even after rotation in that color combination, some 3-5 for 3. But she does have some really powerful upside. She's a rebel, and she also gains Sentinel whenever she's upgraded, which is a very powerful ability for someone who has such a good stats. So, easily silver medal. And the easy gold medal goes to Body Rook as being the best 2-drops of the set. 2-4 for 2 rebel is just really solid. But then the on-attack ability is very powerful, being able to give rebel against sentinels on attack to a rebel, and can apply the sentinels to himself, is very, very powerful. To me, it is really, really one of the best cards in the set. Moving on, we get into mono vigilance, and my confidence on this ranking is quite high as well. In bronze, I decided to put the 3 remembers. It's a card that is quite specialized. It's not good against every deck, but in the deck with which it is good, it's absolutely essential of a card. It solves problems that no other card in the game can do. Most likely, it's obviously a great answer to space pilots, notably Chewbacca. It's one of the only answer that the non-villainy decks will have to Chewbacca. Villainy does have access to no glory results, and also condemn as a way to counter Chewbacca, but heroism really doesn't have any answer to Chewbacca other than this card. So this card basically will save you into many, many bad situations. It's also just a decent removal overall, even though it's a little bit overpriced, but it just solves so many problems. It's really, really strong against space leaders like Von Reg or Kazuda, because it will kill something. It also works on lone leaders, so it's been a really, really powerful card. That is, I think, is an essential card. If you're going to be playing blue, you have to place some amount of this card either in your main deck or in the sideboard. Another card I will see a tremendous amount of play, I think Mono Blue has been blessed with a lot of very powerful cards, is Droid's Laser Turret, which is basically the new Village Protector. It does have 1 health, which makes it pretty bad against Talzin, but against everything else, it's almost as good as just a regular Village Protector. And Village Protector has proven to be an amazing, amazing card. Just a Shielded Sentinel is just really, really powerful in this game. And this card is not only a Shielded Sentinel, it's a Shielded Sentinel available to both Villainy and Heroism, and also in a meta where Sentinels are, in my opinion, particularly powerful. Just a great, great card. And then in gold, without surprise, Lost and Forgotten, the best target, single target removal in the meta, in my opinion, now that Fel the Dragon, Rival's Fall, and Vanquish are rotating out. There hasn't been any other replacement for single target removal. I mean, you could argue No Glory is the best single target removal, but it's only available to Villainy. This one is available to both Heroism and Villainy. The fact that it heals your base by 3 is very, very relevant. It's a great card stabilizer that I think is also going to see some eternal play, in my opinion. So it's a great card, and it's obviously going to be see play in almost every single blue deck. And it's a very, very important card for the meta. Moving on now to Villainy Command. My confidence one is quite low, simply because this color combination is, again, abysmally bad. I feel like Command Villainy was probably one of the most powerful color combination going into Spark of Rebellion, and it's been a color combination that has been carried by Spark of Rebellion for a very, very long time now, but it has become probably one of the weakest color combo in the entire game now. I feel like Command Villainy is probably now the weakest color combo in the game. It just hasn't gotten anything good for such a long time. It's honestly pretty sad to see how low this color has fallen. And this set is not going to be helpful, I can tell you that much. In bronze medal, I decided to put Admiral Marty, which is semi-playable. The ability to give +2/+2 to your leader, if you have a leader that deploys on 5, can be pretty powerful. But overall, just a 4/5 for 5 is just not good enough, and I don't think it's going to see competitive play. Then we got Parrot Snob Fighter, which might see some fringe play in sideboard. Just against certain type of space deck, it can be really strong. But it's so niche, I don't even think it's going to see play. Maybe if Vader, Space Vader sees a tremendous amount of play, maybe Parrot Snob Fighter as a sideboard card will see some play, but I don't think Vader Pilot is necessarily the best space deck right now. and I don't think it's going to dominate the meta. So, and then in gold meta, I decided to put Intimidator, which I think is a pretty weak card overall. It does have some pretty powerful late game combos. I think which I'll probably explain in another video. I have a deck list prepared for this card. So it's a pretty cool card, and it's a pretty powerful win condition, which Villainy desperately need. Thanks to those combo potential, the card might see a little bit of play, but I don't think those decks are unfortunately particularly strong, and therefore the impact on the meta will be quite limited. But it is, to me, the card that is the most likely to have a relatively high impact on the meta, even though it's going to see extremely big fringe play, in my view. Moving on to Heroism Command, and my confidence one is medium. This color combination was godlike in the previous set. In this set, he hasn't gotten nearly as much help. It's this time around not nearly as much help. In bronze metal, I decided to put R2D2. I think R2D2 is strictly better than the Momothma, and Momothma saw a significant amount of competitive play. It is a very grindy card. It is typically a card that you want to play in a very grindy meta when you want to go for card advantage. You want to go for card advantage. You want to go for card selection and put some pressure on the opponent. I think the card does this really well. Unfortunately, we're not in that meta at all. We are in a very aggressive meta where value basically doesn't matter. So right now, in the current meta, I think R2D2 is pretty much unplayable. With that being said, I don't think that's going to be the case forever. And if the meta becomes more basically control, more value-based, then R2D2 is going to become a really powerful card. And if I'm not giving it a bronze medal for this set, I'm giving it for the future potential. And there's nothing better in that color combination anyway. In silver medal, I decided to put Massassi Group Marines, which is the only 4/4/3 available in that color combination. And I think 4/4/3s are actually pretty powerful in the meta, as they basically trade really well with 2/4/2s, which are extremely popular. It's also a rebel. I don't think it's going to see much play, but once again, in that color combination, we haven't got anything better. And then Ray finally in gold medal, another card which I'm not entirely sure whether it's going to see play or not, because she's one of the best card ever printed against control, but control is not guaranteed to be part of the meta, unfortunately. Obviously, very difficult to kill, doesn't get killed by any of the removals, not even No Glory or Results deals with her, and she puts tremendous pressure, and obviously with ramp and credit token, you can put her in play very early on. I think that if you are in a non-control meta, I don't think she's good enough, because playing a 9/9 with no immediate impact on the game against mid-range or against aggro is simply just not good enough, especially on how aggressive decks are nowadays. So, in my view, it's a card which would have been a huge meta player if control was a thing. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. That means that's going to limit her potential. But she's still far and away the best green-white card of the set. And green-white, as I said, in the set has not been blessed with many good cards. But that's fine, because it got so much help from Secrets of Power. I think it's okay to take a break. In Mono Command. So Mono Command, my confidence one is low. Again, I think the cards are pretty close to each other in terms of power level. And in this time, so in bronze, we got Target Tagger, which I think if ever we're going to see some Bounty Hunter seeing play, I think that Target Tagger will be part of it, because it's basically Fleet Lieutenant but for Bounty Hunters. Obviously, Bounty Hunters is not nearly as common of a trait that Rebel was, so we're not even close to the same power level, but unfortunately, there's nothing better in Monograin. In Silver Metal, we got a Haymaker. This card has been really nice. It's basically kind of a mini Craving Power, but it comes to play one turn earlier, which is kind of a big deal. The only major weakness of this card is like it only works for units in the same arena. So if we're in a meta where there's a lot of cross arena fight that are needed, this could be a problem. But undeniably a very powerful card in the right deck. And gold medal, I decided to put Expandable Mercenary. It is currently the best and most reliable piece of ramp that we got from the new set. And ramp is still an incredibly powerful mechanic in Star Wars Limited, even though It hasn't never been so weak because of the lack of top end. But yeah, it's really, really strong with the new Krennic. It is undeniably going to be the most played mono green card of the set. Now we're getting into villainy aggression, and my confidence in one is high. In bronze medal, I decided to put the Sebulba Pod Racer. An absolutely amazing card with Sebulba. Unfortunately, outside of Sebulba, pretty much unplayable, so the playability of the Sebulba's Pod Racer will depend entirely on the playability of Sebulba as a leader, which, as I said earlier, I've been quite disappointed about, but I still believe it's a competitive deck. In Silver Matter, it's pretty easy. We're going for the 000, 000. It's a 4/4 for 3, so that's a pretty good set line, and the ability is pretty relevant. Dealing damage to the base on attack is just really good in an aggro deck. That means that this card will swing for 5 if you have a red card to put at the bottom of your deck, which most likely you will. And then in Gold Medal, it's the easy one, BT1, 2/4 for 2 stat line. It's a droid, which means you can pull it out of invisible hand, which is a pretty big deal. And again, if you have a heavy red decks, then it pings on attack, which is really, really powerful. So this is the easiest. I feel like this is a good set for red black overall, which is a color combination that hasn't got much love from FFG since the beginning of the game, to be fair. Moving on now to Heroism Red, and my confidence in one is medium. On this ranking is medium. First we got Staccado Lightning Repeater. I don't think this card is very good, but it could see play in a very specific meta. If we're in a very, very aggro meta with a lot of 1 health units, then this card could be an excellent sideboard card. Other than that, I don't think it's going to see play, but just for that potential alone, I'm going to give the bronze medal. Then we got Enfys Nest Helmet, which is pretty mediocre in any decks, but becomes very, really powerful in Enfys Nest deck. I've said before and I said again, I don't think Enfys Nest is a good leader. I think it's fine. Like I rated it in C tier in my leader tier list. So I think that Enfys Nest is definitely a leader that you can make work. And if you're playing Enfys Nest, you're probably going to be playing the helmet. With that being said, it's a niche card for an archetype which I don't think is very strong, so I think it's unlikely to see a lot of play. Gold medal and miles away from anything else in aggression white, in red white. It is the Inspired Recruit, just a 3/1 for 1, but obviously in this color combination, a 3/1 for 1 is incredible. Very, very aggressive card. Cool for double 1-drop opening. It does have weaknesses, of course, against Salzine and against Aura Singh, but needless to say, it's an incredibly powerful card. Going for double Inspiring Recruit is one of the strongest aggro opening you can make in the game right now, and against deck that don't have the answer, it just wins you the game on its own, and it's also a Rebel, so just a great card. Moving on into Mono Aggression, my confidence ranking is low, as the cards are again a bit weak. In bronze, we got the commands, not weak, but very close in power level, I would say. In bronze, we have commands the festivities. I think this card is really good in Chewbacca, as you will consistently have fewer resources than your opponent, and then it's just a breaking in for resource discount. We know that buff spells come at a premium in this set, because they're simply, most of the good buff spells have been rotating out, and that's the reason why Aggression Negotiation is so powerful. So I believe that there will be a few aggressive decks that will run this card. In Silver Metal, decided to put Overcharge Transport, a great anti-space aggro card. Will see play in a lot of sideboard, in my opinion. The 4/3 for 4 is not a bad stat line, and it has immediate impact on the board. This defeats an upgrade attached to a space unit, and can trigger again when defeated, which is incredible. Very, very difficult to play around if you're playing a lot of pilots. And it's also a great card in a space aggro deck, because it will actually help you getting rid of condemns. So a great answer to condemns whenever you're playing space aggro. And then in gold medal, we have Harville's Keen, which I believe is the best credit token hate in the entire game. 4/3 for 3 is just a decent stat line overall, kills the 2/4, which is what you want. And then the fact that it has an impact on when play and on attack is incredible, and also deals damage to base as well. just a really, really solid credit token removal in a color that didn't have access to it. And to me, it's going to be the most played card. I think credit tokens are going to be incredibly relevant in the meta. We have Beckett, we have Lando, we have Chewbacca also plays credit tokens. There are just so many credit tokens in the meta. I think Harvest Skin is going to be very relevant. Now let's talk about the bases, because this time we got some rare bases, and unfortunately they are pretty trash. My confidence in one is pretty high. In bronze medal, I decided to put Shipbreaking Yard. Will it see play? No, I don't think it's going to see play. But if you talk about the different rare bases, I think it's one of the least bad. Because there's some combo potential with it. Maybe it's going to see a little bit of play in internal. With the Pap's Return and stuff. There's some cool things you can do with this. For that reason, I give it a bronze medal, but I don't think it's going to see play. I think it's too random, too unreliable, and you're losing 4 HP for that. Then we got the Alliance Outpost. It's just, it allows you to recycle tokens into a credit tokens, so give you like a potentially ramp. I think it's a card that has the most potential in terms of deck building possibilities. You can remove a force token, even though you probably force token is not a good idea, but you can recycle an experience or shield into a credit token, which can be incredibly impactful. But again, paying 4 HP for an ability that you're not guaranteed to use and has such a low, that sometimes we just have very low impact, I don't think it's a good idea. So I don't think it's going to see play. But in my opinion, it comes seconds in the bases. And unsurprisingly, the number one best bases in the sets are the common ones. Those 27 HP bases have been far better than I was expecting. It turns out that there's a lot of cards that really benefit from being splashed, as they get additional abilities whenever they are played out of aspect, or are played in a deck that they don't really belong to. I think 27 HP base are going to be, if you're looking to play an aggressive deck, and you're looking to, you don't care as much about the HP on your base, then you're going to be really looking forward to play a base that gives you some value, and those are the best base you can play after rotation. We got some, the aggressive base have been so far kind of ECL Tarkentown. But now that those are rotated out, we are left with pretty much only control base, which are more like Data Vault, and Colossus, which are more like control bases. So we really needed like aggro bases, and those bases will be the basis for aggro decks, pretty much. They also might see some play in control as well, even though the cost in a control deck of running 3 less HP is a lot bigger, to say the least. I'm not gonna go over the mono heroism, mono villainy, and true neutral, because there's just too few cards, so it doesn't really make much sense to do it. I'm gonna jump directly into the spicy part, the leaders. So I've already done my leader tier list, so you probably know already what I'm gonna put in the top 3. But my confidence as usual on leaders is low, because it's low. Leaders are by far the most difficult cards to predict their playability in the meta, in my opinion, because they depends on their archetypes, and predicting a card in a vacuum can be quite easy, but predicting the playability of an archetype is a much more difficult task, because it depends on so many different moving parts. So on honorable mention, decide to put Lando Calrissian. In my view, the best kind of late game focused leader in the set, and just the ability to give credit token for free is just incredible. And the leader deploy being able to jump from 6 to 9 resources and be able to drop a Bo-Katan 3 turn earlier is just incredibly powerful. Heroism just happens to have the best top ends in the game right now, which are Bo-Katan, Yoda, and obviously the Liberty. So that's really helpful. So I think he's a great leader. The only weakness, of course, is that he's quite slow, and in a meta that is going to be really aggressive, I'm a little bit scared that Lando might suffer. Another weakness, of course, is the deck building constraints, as you have to run, in order to make his ability reliable, you have to run a deck that has only one color, and that can be quite of a big deck building constraint. Consider that we are working with a meta with only 4 sets. So it's a card I think is going to get better over time as we move. Is going to get better over time. He's very, very powerful, but I'm just afraid that the meta might prevent him from seeing as much play. There's also another thing to consider is that there's also a lot of counters to credit tokens available to almost every colors. So that's going to be another major blocker for Lando, is that if he starts becoming successful, people will simply just play a lot of credit hate, and that's going to be a very big problem for him. In bronze medal, I decided to put Tobias Beckett. His aggressive approach to the game has been incredibly impactful. His ability to get himself one of the biggest deploy turn in the entire game. Draws you a bunch of cards, produce a bunch of credit tokens to get a gigantic turn. Is just really powerful, very good stats. So aggressive Tobias has been surprisingly powerful to, I think, a lot of people. So yeah, he's just really, really solid. The main weakness of Tobias, and the reason why I'm going into bronze medal, is because he's very limited to a specific archetype, and he's very, very limited in. I think you have to play red with him, and the deck list is unlikely to evolve because there's simply just no wiggle room. He doesn't have access to heroism, he doesn't have access to villainy, so obviously he's very, very limited in his card pool. So he's not gonna have a lot of flexibility on how you can build him. It's also a deck that really highly depends on the flip turn. So if you get a successful flip turn, that's great, you run away with the game. But if you manage, if your opponent manages to stop your momentum and you start running out of credit tokens, then the deck just completely falls apart. So there's a few weaknesses for the leader. I still believe he's the third best leader in the set. In silver medal, I decided to put Chewbacca. So Chewbacca Super Aggro has been very, very successful archetype that we've playtested quite a bit. As I was saying in my tier list video, there's simply just not many answers to a 5/6 leader that deploys so early in the game. Even cards like Condemn, which is the best answer you have to Chewbacca, can be countered by simply some upgrade removal, and any Sentinels can simply be dealt with regular removal combined with Chewbacca's ability. So a really, really powerful leader that I think has a lot of potential, and yeah, for me it's a silver medal. Gold medal, decided to go with Jyn Erso. As long as aggressive negotiation is in the game, I think Jyn Erso will be one of the deck to beat at least. She's by far the best leader to take advantage of the card, with the ability to just not only provide card advantage throughout the game, but also find aggressive negotiation. It just also happens to get a lot of support. Blue-red is the best possible color combination for aggressive negotiation because you get all this card draw coming from Shoifane. And not only that, she also got some really solid support coming from cards like Rey, for example, Rey Skywalker, that you can grab from her. It's very powerful. So I think in the vacuum, she's not a very powerful leader, and that's the reason why I was not very positive on her on first impression, but she just got so much support. It's kind of crazy, and she ended up just being a really, really good leader. Obviously, she has a major weakness, is that she doesn't have access to a lot of answers. She's a very, very proactive strategy. So right now, she absolutely dominates the meta, but I believe that she's going to pull back a little bit as the meta goes on because she's very, very proactive, so she benefits a lot from a meta that is quite uncharted territory. But as people kind of adapt, I'm expecting she's going to fall off in the ranking. But I still believe she's the best leader in the set because of that context that I was talking about earlier. Before we get to the final ranking, I just want to let you know that you can pick up constructed lightsabers on the card market for €11. It was on my list of one of the cards that benefits the most from rotation, and it is a true neutral card, which means it is accessible in almost every single deck. Now let's get into the final ranking for everything that is not a leader and not a base. On the ranking, as usual, my confidence is low because this is always the trickiest ranking to do. Honorable mention goes to Han Solo. As I said, the best one drop in the entire game, Eternal included. The only issue with the card is its color combination and the fact that there's no really any leader that really combines really well with him, but nevertheless a very powerful card. In bronze, I decided to put Liberty. I think if there's going to be some late game focus deck in the meta, it will be on the back of this card. Best legendary of the set and a great stabilizer, both on the ground and space, gives you inevitability and puts loads of pressure on the opponent. In silver medal, decided to put Zeb Aurelios because of it's probably the best splashable card in the set. Despite the fact that it's triple aspect requirement, it's a card that's going to make a lot of people play 27 HP base. 27 HP base. And in gold medal, decided to put Body Rook. It's not the flashiest card. It's not the most impressive card, but I believe it's the card that's going to see the most play out of the set because it's a 2-drop in a very powerful color combination, and just a 2/4 card Sentinel is both really good in an Anago deck and also in a more slower control deck. So I believe it's incredible. That's my impression for what I think is the best card in the set. As usual, I tend to rate 2-drops higher in terms of meta impact than other curve points because I believe that the early game is really where most of the games of Star Wars Limited are won or lost. So that's the reason why I have a tendency to rate 2-drops. And I think in my last 3 rankings, whether it was in Secrets of Power or Legend of the Force, I always put some 2-drops in the top. Cool stuff. So basically, overall impression of the set is that it's one of the things that is quite obvious with this set is that it is extremely heroism favored. I do not remember seeing a set before in the history of Star Wars Limited that was so in balance in favor of villainy or heroism. Really, this set, I mean, Spark of Rebellion was slightly villainy favored. And then most sets have been pretty balanced between heroism. I think Secrets of Power was quite heroism favored, but this set is, oh good lord, this set is incredibly favored and tilted towards heroism. It's not even close. In my opinion, it's not even close. Obviously, it doesn't mean villainy is going to be unplayable. Obviously, there's going to be some strong villainy decks, but I believe this set is completely tilting the balance toward heroism. And I believe let's say 75% of decks, I think 3 decks out of 4 will be heroism in this meta. So I hope you guys had a great pre-release weekend, and thank you so much for following the video. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below the ranking you agree with, the one you do not agree with, and as usual, at the end of the set, we'll be reviewing this ranking, what actually happened, and find out if I was right or wrong. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.